Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue Instant Reaction. It's all emotion now. We are about 90 seconds from Inter Miami's 1-1 draw to Atlanta United at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Inter Miami had a 2-1 lead, had a chance to go up 3-1, but a really nice play by Derek Williams for Atlanta kept a third goal from Luis Suarez off the board, and then Atlanta ties it up not too long after. 2-2 draw. I want to stop before we get too emotional because that last 10 minutes was very, very uninspiring. But that doesn't take away from a 90-minute performance that is worth talking about in a positive light, at least a large part of it. As always, I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. How are you feeling right now after watching that game?
I need to catch my breath. You said try not to be emotional. I have a few thoughts. But first of all, we didn't lose the game. It was a draw. Quite a few holes to talk about in the team itself, but we were shorthanded. Circus Fun mentions here that I thought everyone said this game was going to be easy. No, I said it was going to be scrappy. I said it was going to be difficult. I thought we could get a result. Honestly, we should have gotten a result. By the end of it, in the last 10, 20 minutes, everyone seemed absolutely gassed. When the referee blew his whistle, there were 3 players who just fell on the floor. And by people gassing out, I mean Redondo was unable to run. Not going to get into it yet. We didn't lose the game, got 1 point. Put Atlanta behind us and move on because I don't want to see this team again, please.
Okay, let me just say something to preface this entire show. We will do a full game breakdown tomorrow night. We will rewatch the game in its entirety in order to have a calm, cool, collected breakdown of the tactical setup and each player's performance and how the chemistry worked and what the other team did and all of that. But this right now is just a chance to be emotional and react. And that's what we want to do with you guys. And so that is the basis for everything we say right now. And so if we are overly critical of a player, it's probably because we didn't rewatch the whole performance yet and we will feel differently tomorrow, or the opposite. You know, that's sort of the idea. Redondo was bad.
Terrible.
And
awful.
Here's what I want to say. You were brought in the 66th minute, Federico, to be the engine and
if I had been brought on
in the
midfield. 66th minute, I would have ran my butt off.
He was brought in to be the legs of the midfield. Yannick Bright and Kremaski worked so hard. I mean, those two deserved to fall on the floor after the game ended because of their exhaustion. Redondo, you are supposed to be the link that holds the midfield together with your fresh legs. And you're right. It didn't feel like at any point he was in the game physically. Go ahead.
Not even that. There was a moment in like the 87th minute, which I would urge people to go and see, where also, who was that winger that Atlanta brought on? I was dying on my knees for him to get injured or something. He was so hard to deal with. Anyways, he got the ball. He started running. Redondo, his reaction, he looked down, sighed, and then started jogging. There was another instance in the 85th minute, and I noted these down for this episode. There was another moment in the 85th minute. They were right on the edge of our box, and Redondo's just slowly jogging back, looking around at what's happening.
It was
Close
a 5-on-4
the
too.
damn players down. I apologize for my language, but it was awful. It was terrible. He was slow, lethargic, and left the midfield so exposed. There was a moment where the commentators mentioned that there is no midfield. It was because Kremaski and Redondo were literally sitting in the other team's D. I don't blame Kremaski at all. He had a absolutely belter of a game being physical. Bright was left all the way back. There was nothing in the middle. Sorry.
No, I agree. I think that was the difference between the first 80 minutes, 75 minutes where we looked good, like we were in control, like we were going to win the game, and the last 15, 20 when we looked like we were going to lose the game, and especially in the last 12 minutes after they scored the equalizer. which was an incredible goal, by the way. That Miranchuk goal was incredible.
Brilliant.
We'll rewatch it to see if someone should have closed him down. But the actual shot.
Credit to Atlanta.
Incredible.
They played well.
Yeah. It was an incredible shot. Nothing Drake could have done. I don't know what else to say about Redondo, man. It was bad, and I am glad that I'm not the only one who sees it this way. I know I have been a little critical compared to most of Redondo's performances, but this felt like you were supposed to be the solution to everything that was wrong.
The subs absolutely changed the game for the worse. I'll be honest. I thought Messi came on, didn't look as sharp. Again, completely no issues with that. He's been away for 3 months. It's going to take him some time to get up to speed. The turf is not easy to play on, especially when you like to dribble with the ball at your feet and like to take players on. So that's completely excusable. What's not excusable is that, again, this was something that I noticed. I'm not sure if you noticed the same. Would love to hear from the chat. It felt like players were deferring to him a little bit too much in the final third, where I felt like Robert Taylor had a couple of opportunities. Jordi Alba was in some really good positions. And it just felt like they were constantly going to Messi, and they were cutting Messi out from those passes. And it was so annoying to see. But as soon as the subs came on, it was a completely different game, completely against us. I thought Negri should have been taken off. He was absolutely gassed by the 60th minute. I don't know why they took out Robert Taylor. He was the one spark in the final third who was actually keeping the pace of the game. There was just so much wrong with the way this game was handled. But we didn't lose. We got a point. Move on to the next.
Can I ask you a question? Robert Taylor substitute for Jordi Alba. It was a fun experiment. It would have been cool if we won 3-1. But at the same time, you were missing a dynamic winger on the left side, and you were missing having him you wanted Jordi Alba to be what Franco Negri was, who was consistently open, and you wanted Robert Taylor to do what Jordi Alba was doing, or at least occupying those spaces. So with that said, do we want to go back to Tata Martino substitutes? Is that where we came after one game? Okay.
No, but I do also want to, I don't know if this is allowed from you, if this is written in our rules of engagement. I want to talk about the commentators for a second, because you mentioned Jordi Alba's substitution, and the commentator mentioned that I don't know who the second commentator was with Taylor Twelman, but they mentioned that Jordi Alba should be tried and tested in the left wing spot. Never ever do that again, please. I don't want to see him in the left wing spot. He is not an out-and-out left winger. He's a left back who can definitely play forward. He's the best in this position. Don't force him into areas. Also, at one point, I had to shut off the commentary because it honestly felt like everything they were saying was critical of Inter Miami. And it just didn't, it was very jarring to listen to. So that's all I'm going to say about the commentary. Maybe I'll talk about it more in tomorrow's post game. But yeah, it wasn't, the last 20 minutes were a bit of a harsh watch.
Yeah, I don't blame anyone who feels like that commentary crew with Twelman and his name's escaping me at the moment, but that it's when they call Inter Miami games, it's not fun. Sean says that young midfield was the best thing in the game. David Ruiz had a few poor touches early in the game, but absolutely redeems himself with the goal. I thought after that goal, he played excellent, played really well. I thought Kramaski was good throughout, and Yannick Bright was doing what Yannick Bright does. So I agree. I thought that midfield was exceptional. I thought Robert Taylor getting back into the flow, like you just wonder, where has he been? Because he was really good again.
I thought he was really, really good. Yeah.
I thought Cello had his best performance.
I'm glad you said that, because there was a moment where I thought to myself, Cello could potentially have a shout for man of the match. And I was like, am I watching the right game? But I thought he was really, really good today. I want to go back to the midfield. I didn't think Bright had a particularly amazing game. He did exactly what he was supposed to do defensively. I thought there were some moments where I could have maybe seen better decision-making from him. But then there were a couple of moments where he had some really brilliant switches cross-pitch. And I was like, oof, that's looking good. Benha was fantastic. David Ruiz, I think, was fantastic. But there was one thing missing from that midfield that we desperately needed. which we thought we would get with Redondo coming in. That was control. We didn't have anybody who was comfortable slowing the pace of the game down and setting the tempo a little bit. And I thought that was what was missing. But we expected that a little bit. We went in with an athletic midfield to keep up with Atlanta's midfield, and it worked in large parts. So I have no complaints about how they played.
Yes, but I agree with you. But also, when you don't have great ball progressors in the midfield in Bright, Kramaski, and Ruiz, you complemented that with Robert Taylor and Julian Gressel as guys who could come back and get the ball to help with ball progression. And so I thought balance-wise it was fine. Guys, we have about 95 people watching right now. Do us a favor and hit the like button. That really helps us out. Rohan says that they played better without Messi. They played better without Messi. Yes. I don't know if I would say that. I don't think forgetting my names here. Jordi Alba had a great game. I don't think Luis Suarez had a particularly impactful performance, although I don't think Suarez was on the field for too long. But Redondo really was the substitute that killed it, especially in the midfield. And the midfield was open, and then you just weren't getting the ball to Messi and Suarez in dangerous opportunities or consistently enough.
And I feel like we were overplaying it in the final third a little bit too much. There were instances again where I thought Jordi Alba and Messi were trying too hard to play between themselves. Benha could have had a couple of opportunities. I thought Robert Taylor being brought off when Messi finally came on could have impacted the game in some way. Was a bit of a questionable decision. It wasn't a great game from the Barcelona boys as such, but again, it happens, man. They got on in the 65th minute, so there was less time to get into rhythm.
The Jordi Alba, Franco Negri thing is just awful because they do the same thing up the field. And when you need a goal, they're redundant and they're occupying the same spaces. And there was times where Negri is overlapping Jordi Alba, but Jordi Alba's thinking, why would I do that pass when I'm a better passer and I can't get back into a position to be impactful because I don't have the right leggedness for it or footedness for it. So that was a very disappointing sub.
I also think, there was a big problem with that Negri or the decision to bring off Robert Taylor, because Negri was absolutely rinsed by the end of it. Not just because he was gassed, but that Mascara guy, man, he absolutely took us for a ride in those final 10 minutes. He was so quick, so really menacing. He was everywhere on that right-hand side of the pitch. And with Robert Taylor on the pitch, you could at least expect him to do some defensive track back. That was completely taken away with Negri because I don't think he could keep pace with Mascara, and it left a lot of gaps in behind. Overall, I think that side was the most vulnerable. The goal came from that side as well, especially when the substitutions were made. So didn't love that.
I didn't love it either. Thomas says the young players did great. I'm proud, but we could have won that game. Yeah. Absolutely. Tony says Redondo was poor, played like he was the most gassed player, yet only played 20 minutes and couldn't or wouldn't get back on defense.
I don't mind if a player is playing badly or is having a difficult game, but there's absolutely no excuse for you to come on in the 60th minute and not track back and jog back. And the problem is it was so evident because there were so many other players who were outpacing him from where he was standing, and it just did not look good at all. It was quite visible in terms of his physical, ceiling and where he was in that game. Just didn't look good.
Joey feels similarly. I don't want to talk about Redondo too much because I don't want to pile on him, and maybe we'll look back tomorrow and think he had some nice touches or something. So that's how I feel about Redondo, and I agree with everyone who thinks that it was poor, but I don't want to drive on too much because I know that I can get a little emotional on this. Taran says this draw looks like a loss. It certainly feels like it. Sean says Benha yelled at him for not running into the center of the field. Brighton Kramaski are my man of the match. Hard to argue. Can I just say, Drake Callender, the first goal for Atlanta, he should have stopped. It went right through his legs, right? Other than that moment, I thought he had such a good game. Like all the little things he was doing so well, and he would have been my man of the match if he hadn't given up that goal. We would have won 2-1. And
listen, Atlanta had 0.13 XG in the first half, and I know because the commentators mentioned it. They had no threat until that goal went in. Very poor from Calendar. I thought he should have saved that very easily. I thought he'd saved that, and then I saw the ball at the back of the net, so I was very surprised that they'd scored. And all their attack came in the final 10 minutes when it was Inter Miami's structural deficiencies that let us down. Other than that, I think the defense played really well. Christoph was really good until those last 10 minutes when we were put under pressure. Frey, I thought, was fantastic in that role. There were a couple of really good headers, clearances that he had. Wigan, we've already discussed, was fantastic in this half, in this game itself. I think one of his better games for Inter Miami. The starting 11, I think, performed really well. The issues happened after the substitutions came on, which is ironic that we were calling for the substitutions and it just changed the game against us completely.
Can I nitpick a single moment that I think may have been the cause of our downfall, the root of our downfall? 67th minute, David Ruiz pulls up with a little bit of an injury or, has to leave the game because of a knock. And I don't think we would have gotten the subs at the 67th minute of Jordi Alba and Redondo, which I think were the two that were the problem. If David Ruiz hadn't have gone off, because we had just brought on Lionel Messi and used the substitution window 5 minutes before that, I think he probably would have waited for the 75th minute to bring those two on if it wasn't, brought forward with the injury. And I think if we only substitute Gressel for Lionel Messi, I do think we get another goal because the rest of the team was playing well. You just plop Messi on top of that, and I think there would have been another one. Carlos says, dang, the 80-point season dream is dead. No goal contributions from Messi or goals from Suarez. Big sad tonight. I absolutely understand anyone that's very disappointed tonight. I am too. The 80-point season is going to have to wait till next year.
Mate, we didn't even get 40 points last season. No, we barely scraped 40 points. So
no, we didn't.
It's okay if we don't. If we don't get
like 32 or something.
There you go.
32, 34 maybe.
So it's okay if we don't get the 80 points. I'll still want that point record, so hopefully that comes through.
Hamad says, thoroughly entertaining game, though. I loved it. Would have been more fun if we scored again at the end, but I understand why.
In the last 10 minutes, I was catching my breath.
Taran says the last 15 minutes there was no midfield. And and it felt a little longer than the 15 minutes, if I'll be honest with you.
Right.
And Redondo will be starting the next game again from Wookie. I think Kramaski earns the start over Redondo. I don't think he'll get it, but I think he earned that tonight. Messi, Suarez, and Alba came in, and Atlanta got better. Here's what I will say. Atlanta's substitutes made them more athletic, and our substitutes made us less athletic. And when you get into the type of game where it's back and forth and there is no midfield, not having any athleticism is tough to deal with.
And also, like, the athletic players that we had on the pitch, like Benjamin Kramaski, they were gassed out by that time. So you didn't necessarily use their pace or power to get through. I guess we also have to recognize that we were very short-handed. No Diego Gomez, no Matthias Rojas.
Yeah, but these would have been the subs anyways,
defenders, right? But still, yeah.
This would have been the substitutes.
But then if we had Diego Gomez, we'd probably score like a couple more goals.
Sean says, I don't know, Alba for Taylor could be nice if we had Allen who could overlap or something. The problem with the two left-footed players is that if anyone overlaps Jordi Alba is no longer going to be a part of the play because he's not going to cut in on his right, receive balls on his right foot and actually take a shot on goal. And also you're taking the best thing away from Jordi Alba, which is being the guy that overlaps and then whips it in from the left side with that left foot. So I don't know. Sean says he played left winger before, though, when he was younger. And, if you have like absolute world-class players everywhere, like he did at Barcelona, then this doesn't, forget what I'm saying. But in this situation where Jordi Alba's left foot and overlapping and being down that left wing is the greatest asset he could possibly provide, I don't love taking that away from him. And he doesn't like taking it away from, taking it out either. And you saw Negri overlapped him multiple times, and he didn't really go to Negri ever. Anton says trying to pass to Messi when three defenders are expecting it is so frustrating to watch. That is something I also want to say. The last 15 minutes, we were awful at holding the ball, just taking reckless passes and bad touches. Redondo, I thought he was really poor in this area. But it wasn't just him. Some of the guys took some poor touches. Jordi Alba had a few just passes straight to the defenders, and it was really frustrating. Sean says Cello was trying to play the 10 again early on. Listen, Cello took that shot, and I was just thinking to myself, don't do that. And he shot it 5 yards over the net. But then late in the game, he had another opportunity to take a shot, and he was smart enough. And I was thinking, don't do that. And he passed it to Messi. So I appreciate that. Peaches says he didn't love Yannick Bright's performance. I think that's fair. We'll see on the rewatch tomorrow. But
I think
really
it was good. But the last 10, 15 minutes, it wasn't him that was the issue as such. He couldn't control everything that was coming our way from the left-hand side, and he needed support in that midfield. He was also quite tired by the end of it, and it was visible. So,
well,
yeah.
And you saw with Bright, he got in that stretch, that last 10 minutes when it was just back and forth, there was no midfield. He was too tired to run back and forth, and so he just sat with the defense.
Yeah.
And he was more effective, I think, in terms of, because there was a time or two in that 83rd, 85th, or 6th minute where they had numbers advantages, like a 5-on-4, and they weren't able to take advantage of it. But so Yannick Bright finally sat back, and they never got another.
And in the first 80 minutes, I thought like he was very important to stop some of the transitions. They got us on transitions a few times, but we were able to get the numbers back. And I think Bright was a big part in making sure the structure remained in place. Not his best game, but I don't think he was that bad by any means. But yeah, maybe we'll have to rewatch to see.
Thomas says that NYCFC lost 5-1, so there's no excuse to not win Saturday.
Anything can happen at the Mickey Mouse Stadium.
Peaches says we lost balance when Gressel was subbed, and it was amplified when Taylor left, as there was a lack of service routes. Agree. 100%.
Very true.
Nuno says the starting 11 was pretty good, besides Gressel, who was ghosting per usual. I disagree. I thought Gressel was really good in this game.
I thought Gressel was good, yeah.
Ash says Cello needs to be banned from shooting on goal. This I agree with. I thought he had a very good game today, but he doesn't need to be taking shots.
It should be like FIFA Pro Clubs. If one of your players takes a shot from outside and he misses, he's not allowed to take another shot for the rest of the game. That's how it should be. One shot allowed. If it goes in, great. If it doesn't, you're it.
No way a Russian stole the headlines after the subs Miami brought in. That was a banger of a goal, man. You got to just shout out that goal because it was really, really nice. Nuno says Negri will not be able to run for 2 months. Well, he's not going to get any playing time for 2 months.
Good game. He played, and I told you this. We mentioned this in the pregame show that physicality is going to be an issue for these players to go the full 90, and you could see that.
Do you think that this is IMCF's Inter Miami's boogie team, Atlanta United? Because there's a chance we play them in the playoffs.
I hate them. I don't want to see them ever again. I hate them.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this weekend against NYCFC.
I'd rather take Cincinnati and Columbus twice on Saturday than play this team again.
Stop. Drake had some really nice saves. Man, if it wasn't for that first goal, he would have been my man of the match. He would have been the best player. I thought he was really good for 89.5 minutes. Darren says this midweek game is not good for this team. They looked gassed out. I mean, what's Atlanta's excuse? There's every team in the league is playing tonight. So
yeah, I don't mind other players who started the game being gassed out. I have problems with Redondo being gassed out. And
agreed. Listen,
guys, I have nothing against Redondo. He's a really good player, but I will not stand for players running and giving their full effort in, especially when they've just been subbed on. And I didn't like the attitude with which it came on. There might be some reason behind it. He might be nursing some injury, might not be fully healthy. I don't know, but it just didn't look good for the rest of the team. And it let some of your teammates down. And it's never nice to see your players not giving their full effort.
Peaches says should have subbed Campana for Messi. I thought Campana had a solid game too.
He was okay. I didn't particularly enjoy his game as much. Before he scored the goal, I thought he was having a poor game. He got a little bit better, but I thought he could have been a little bit more involved in a few places. I
actually think I'm about to say something, but I disagree. I thought he was really solid in the first half. And it's just the little things about his game that I just love, and they don't always show up on the score sheet. But Gressel provided way more. I think that's fair. Campana with the most Inter Miami goals ever. We didn't even make a mention of it. But he now has 30 goals.
Oh,
he's the all-time goal scoring leader. I don't know if that goal counted for Campana. If that stands, then yeah, he's the all-time leading goal scorer. I know it bounced off or it was redeflected by.
But it was going in. So and I think I'm looking at SofaScore and they say it's on him. So
AZ says, nah, Atlanta had like 3 chances in those last 10 minutes to take the lead. They could have won that game. If Inter Miami had those chances, we would have scored a goal. Lobjanitsa looked like he was going to be the dagger. If he had scored again, he would have been the boogeyman.
I would have broken my TV if he'd scored.
Circus Fun says, just shows how important Boosie is to this team. We really needed him in the midfield.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Completely agree. And this goes back to my previous point of not having someone to set the tempo in the midfield. And even if it's not in the midfield, someone in the back line to just control, calm the game down and
reset,
keep hold of the ball.
Yeah,
we didn't have that at all.
Yeah.
We didn't have that metronome to keep us ticking along a little bit. And it showed throughout the game. It showed. First half, it wasn't as problematic. Became more so when Atlanta had some of the legs to get away from us.
We had, I think, energy, and that was okay. But when we lost our energy, and Atlanta had the energy and the momentum, it really it was necessary to have a player like him, and we just didn't. And he could have been on the back line or in the midfield, and it would have been a huge advantage. But AZ says I would have been fuming right now if Atlanta had scored. This team force feeds Messi like foie gras. It was the most noticeable in this game as I've seen in a long time. Cello was good defensively, though. I agree. Cello, apart from his shots, had one of his best games. I agree. Circus Fan, I think if they got fined 50% salary, they wouldn't recklessly shoot over the goal. Redondo had a shot too. He had a really opportunity where Messi sort of dribbles and then the ball flips to Kramaski. Kramaski lays it off for him, and it's not even close. Just, like, I don't know, very disappointing performance from Redondo. Nothing against Campana, but Gressy provides better service. He definitely provides better service, but you need someone to get the ball too for the service.
Yeah.
Right? And that's Campana. And Campana oftentimes makes the lead run so that Messi or Robert Taylor can cut in behind and have open space sort of at the edge of the box. Campana does a really good job of making those final runs. So anyways, anything else about this game? None of the scores around the league are going our way. Columbus won 2-0. Cincinnati's currently winning 2-1. The LA Galaxy and LAFC both play later, but we get 1 point against Atlanta United, and we get 1 point on the season against Atlanta United.
Yeah, that's my biggest gripe about this. Having played Atlanta twice and not showing up and not doing a great job. But hey, could have been a loss. We didn't have the best team out there, which is fine. I'm glad some of the youngsters got to get a run out. They showed up. They played well for what was worth it. The last 10 minutes was quite poor, and I'm sure we're going to discuss this in tomorrow's post game, understand why it happened the way it happened, and the rest of it. But Inter Miami still stays on top, man. And no other complaints at all.
I have 2 more things to say, but one last time, guys, do us a favor. Almost 100 people watching. Just hit the like button because it's super helpful for us. And honestly, come in the chat too, because that's our favorite part. I just want to stop again and say Campana is now the all-time leading goal scorer, and no one has said anything. I haven't really looked at Twitter since he scored, but that's like the quietest record I've ever seen. And it would have been huge if we had won this game. And then lastly, I want to say that Suarez chance in the, 75th minute or something, 80th minute, right before the goal, right before Atlanta's second goal. If he hits that, we win the game. And it was a lucky back leg put back by Derek Williams to block it on the touchline. And so that was the difference between 3 points and 1 point tonight. And then Marinchuk was incredible. So especially in that second half, especially with that shot, really, really nice.
Can I have the final word?
Yes.
So what's the next game that we're playing?
Saturday night, NYCFC, Mickey Mouse.
We're playing it at the Mickey Mouse Stadium. Guys, I'm going to give you my prediction early, and I'm going to give you my prediction now. We're playing NYCFC in the Mickey Mouse Stadium with Busquets back, Messi in there, Alba, Suarez, maybe Gomez. We'll see. My prediction is we're going to win that game 7-2. Come back here to check out if it's true or not.
Okay, guys, as always, we'll be back tomorrow with a full game breakdown. We'll get a chance to rewatch everything that happened, and I'm sure we will have more positive things to say about the first 75 minutes because it did feel like a game Inter Miami was in control of. I felt we played our style, which I was pleased to see, even though Messi wasn't on the field. And other than that, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night, get some good sleep, and hopefully we can have some therapy on why this game isn't going to ruin our season tomorrow night. See you guys then.